Hello everyone, it's June 10th, 2020, and this is St. Mark's at Midweek. I'm Matt Wright, and today we catch up with St. Mark's Associate Rector and School Chaplain Mother Betsy Hooper Rosebrook, who's going to fill us in on the end of the school year no one saw coming, and plans for the church to resume in-person worship. She's waiting patiently on Zoom as we speak, so come in, Mother Betsy.
Hi, Matt. Glad to talk to you today.
Nice to talk to you too. I know you just finished up your year-end meeting with the school because you're a school chaplain, and it must have been quite a meeting. Must have been quite an exhaustive meeting. Tell us a little bit about how the year ended up for the school.
It was wonderful. Everyone can figure out that the teachers and the staff and the administrators are so glad to be through this year. It was exhausting, and yet I think they're also exhilarated because on a dime, they turned and learned how to do all kinds of new things, how to deliver content creatively and substantially, how to connect with students over Zoom or Google Classroom or Seesaw or whatever platform they were using. So there is a sense of relief, but also a huge celebration for the incredible accomplishment that working together as a team, the school accomplished.
That's great. Tell me a little bit about the end of year celebrations. They must have been different from the usual because kids weren't present and they had to punt.
They did. And so everything was done virtually, which is pretty amazing. We had, for example, on Thursday, we had a celebration chapel, probably about 325 people in attendance. Some of the participants, it was whole families. So a huge crowd, really a wonderful opportunity to give thanks to a couple of teachers who are leaving this year, to celebrate each grade level stepping up to the next grade level, to honor people with some different awards for service, students for awards for service. So that was a big activity on Thursday. The day before, they had an end of year field day online. And that was different staff members hosting Zoom units, from baking and yoga to charades and crafts. They also, the end of the year, every student loves that last week of school because not a lot of work and a whole lot of fun. And so I asked the teachers about what kinds of things they had been doing in that last week. And I just wanted to jump in and go participate with them. Just to share with you some of the things I heard. They had dress up days as heroes, as book characters, as royalty. They did virtual field trips to Disneyland at the San Diego Zoo.
Wow.
They had beach parties, pizza parties, dance parties, all of this virtually. A campfire, the sixth graders had a campfire, the fifth graders had a talent show. There were awards ceremonies on a more intimate level. There were teachers taking the time in class Zooms to tell each student what was special about them. One class did a quiz on the year's learning, and every time a question was answered right, everybody had to do some sort of goofy task. And one of my favorites was the sixth graders who study Greek mythology and who had done a virtual play. They did a project in which the question for them to respond to was what hope looks like for them to go in the bottom of Pandora's box.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I just loved that. I haven't seen what it was that they had to say, but I'm hoping I can get a hold of that because I suspect our sixth graders have some really profound insights for us on what hope looks like in this day and age.
Well, they've been called to think more deeply about it than probably any other sixth grade class in our memory.
They really have, and they did so with a lot of good humor and patience, which I really admire. So that was the kind of fun things all through the last week. They had stepping up ceremonies. I think the teachers for the next grade level up, welcoming the students into their classrooms. Um, and then on Friday, we had a recognition of graduates, a celebration with the graduates. It was not graduation. The students themselves chose that they wanted to do a more formal graduation later,
Okay.
but this was a chance to present a few awards, to let the faculty show their appreciation and the students showed their appreciation by holding up signs for the
Wow.
others to read, which I'll tell you, I was crying reading
Mm,
what the sixth graders had to say. Um, we're very proud that the National Association of Episcopal Schools Award, which is voted on by both students and faculty, went to Vaughn Cross, a St. Mark's member. Very proud of him.
that's great.
So there was that opportunity too to just celebrate with the sixth graders and their families and relatives were able to participate in that as well.
That's great.
So not typical, not like anything anyone has ever done before. This was I think it was actually my 22nd graduation because my very first day at St. Mark's was graduation day 21 years ago. So nothing like I'd ever done or seen before, and yet still beautiful and significant, and a way to tell these sixth graders how great they are.
The challenges we face are known to all of us. I think we can reel them off without batting an eye. I wonder if you have a special takeaway from this school year with the St. Mark's kids. Is there one thing that stands out?
I think I would say that we have the capacity to do, to respond so much more than we realize. And that's not to say it's easy. It takes a toll. It's exhausting. It's scary. And yet, the resources students and families and teachers and staff and everyone found within themselves when the moment arose, when they needed to, just astonishing. And I think probably most people came away with an awareness of that. Kind of at this point, being able to look back over the last few months and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe we did that. I can't believe we figured that out. I would like to think, I've had less discussion with people about this, but I would like to think that a huge lesson for the students and for all of us was that doing something and doing our best under the circumstances is what counts. So many of us, and I count myself in this number, are perfectionists. We
Mhm.
want to get it exactly right. And there just wasn't room, time, energy, skills for that in these last few months. And so that to me, I hope that was a lesson the students especially learned because I kind of wish I'd learned that in sixth grade.
Yeah. Well, I wanted, before we go, to ask you about what's in store for church this summer. And by that, I mean people are talking a little bit about getting back together, about being able to see each other and be together and worship in person, possibly, or socialize in person. And I know that there have been a number of discussions by the church staff and the clergy, and you've been taking direction from the bishop, John Taylor, about how we begin to think about gathering again for church. But I wondered if you would give me an update on how that's going.
Sure. Pastor Carey sent out an email to the whole congregation on Thursday that outlined some of this. What we're looking towards is resuming worship in person in mid-July. That's our hope. We realize all kinds of things could change between now and then, but that's what we're looking at is in mid-July that we'll be doing something to start with on a small scale simply because the health department requirements and the space available to us are mean that we'll be in a smaller setting,
Hmm.
uh, almost certainly outside, not not inside the church building. That brings a whole nother layer of complications.
Yeah.
As much as we're all eager to get back in there, we have to do it safely and thoughtfully. So for right now, probably outside. And right now, this whole time when we've been gathering and worshiping from a distance, and Matt, I got to give you incredible thanks for your amazing contributions to our being able to do that. Um, Gathering again in person, just like the podcasts and the Zooms and all kinds of things that we've done, gathering again in person is an opportunity to rediscover what it means to be the church, to
Hmm.
be creative and experiment, and remember that this isn't a target of perfect worship, but a process of giving thanks to God and being sustained to do God's work in the world. That's the point of our gathering. So, what it looks like the first time or two we gather, maybe not be what it looks like a couple weeks down the road.
Right. Right.
And we'll have uh, systems in place for people to sign up, and we're still working on all the details, but in fact we're still working on a lot of the broad swaths, uh, but we're beginning to think as creatively as we possibly can about how to begin to make this possible again. And then we'll take our own experience and obviously the guidance of our bishop and of the county and state health departments as paramount.
Sounds like you can apply some of that can-do school spirit to reestablishing in-person worship at the church.
Indeed. Yeah, that's for sure. Just keeps I've gone to, sort of mental creative places I just didn't know existed.
Yeah. Hey, before I let you go, we have been through quite a couple of weeks with the protests that have been taking place around the country, with the recognition on people's part that we have a long way to go in terms of recognizing and fighting racism that's more persistent and more entrenched than probably any of us uh, outside of that daily experience would have imagined. And now we all recognize that this is a problem that really needs to be reckoned with. And a lot of us are trying to come to terms with how to do that more effectively. And I wonder if you've been uncovering any resources or any avenues that people can travel if they want to do some work along those lines.
Yes. One of the most important things I think that I saw, this was a couple weeks ago, a quote from someone, and I don't have the exact quote, but what he was saying was that repentance is not shameful. We so often associate repentance with being bad, with being taken to task. And he was saying repentance isn't shameful. It's actually a turning towards new life, towards doing better, towards greater justice and respect for all. And I was really struck by that because that helped me be not just sorry for ways that I individually and with others have participated in creating and sustaining extra burdens for our siblings of color, um, but it helped me be excited about the possibilities that await us. Um, that by embracing repentance, we step towards a life that will be better for everyone because everyone is treated with respect.
Mhm.
And so, from that position, looking for good resources is something that excites me. It, I have more energy for it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's part of my privilege, is that as a person who is white, I get to choose.
Mm-hmm.
People of color don't have that choice, but so I need to make that choice, to move towards that, respecting the dignity of every person.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, our e-blast that we send out this week again will, in the middle of the week, we'll have a wonderful resource site, and I'll be putting that on our Facebook page as well, that has all kinds of podcasts to listen to, blogs to follow, books to read, resources for talking with children about racism, things like that. Uh, they are starting points, education points towards that new life. And I hope that people will really engage them. And all you have to do right now is go onto Google and say, uh, I want to learn about racism,
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. And incredible resources will come up that are curated. Obviously, people need to cast a careful eye
Yeah.
to who has curated those, but there are wonderful resources out there. And I hope that in that spirit of repentance being the start of something new and just and respectful, people will indeed uh, engage in the listening process and the learning process, and then in the acting process.
Well, Mother Betsy Hooper Rosebrook, thank you for visiting with us this week. I'm grateful for the time, and I've learned a lot.
Great to talk with you. Pastor Carrie's off. She's taking a week of vacation, so I'm glad for that she's having a chance to rest up, and I'm delighted to spend the time with you.
Good. We'll talk again soon.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
That's it for this edition of St. Mark's at Midweek. Thanks to our associate producers, Emily Wright and Lucy Grindon. Another update from St. Mark's next Wednesday, and our regular worship podcast on Sunday. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and be good to each other. I'm Matt Wright.